A desolate, empty plain symbolizes separation. The barren landscape represents a state devoid of divine presence. Absence of life and growth mirrors spiritual emptiness. The horizon signifies the unending nature of this separation. The radiant, majestic throne symbolizes divine judgment and authority. The throne represents the ultimate seat of power and the source of all judgment. Its distant placement signifies the remoteness and impartiality of divine justice. The throne's radiant glow suggests its inherent goodness and illuminating wisdom. The throne embodies the concept of ultimate accountability and moral responsibility. Tears symbolize deep sorrow and the realization of impending judgment. The flowing tears represent the weight and gravity of the forthcoming consequences. This visual embodies the emotional impact of acknowledging a significant and solemn event. The continuous stream of tears signifies an overwhelming sense of grief and understanding. The path represents the journey of life, leading inevitably towards a final judgment. This journey symbolizes the inescapable nature of facing consequences after death. The throne embodies the ultimate authority and the finality of the judgment. The visual metaphor illustrates the concept of a predetermined path towards accountability. The figure collapses, visually representing the weight of the judgment's implications. This collapse underscores the seriousness and gravity of the event. The figure's posture conveys the overwhelming nature of the judgment. The visual representation emphasizes the profound impact of the decision. The scene highlights the emotional and psychological burden associated with the judgment. The overall composition symbolizes the crushing weight of understanding and acceptance. The phrase, "What did you do with my son?" represents the initial and most critical inquiry. This question serves as the foundation for subsequent investigation and understanding. The inquiry's urgency underscores its significance in the overall narrative. The question's structure implies a search for accountability and responsibility. The use of "my son" suggests a personal and deeply emotional connection. The question's ambiguity invites multiple interpretations and perspectives. A heart symbolizes the core of personal emotion and intimate connection. The cross represents the sacrifice and spiritual foundation of faith. Connecting the heart and cross symbolizes a personal relationship with Jesus. This connection signifies love, devotion, and spiritual fulfillment. The image represents a heart willingly giving itself. This symbolizes the act of surrendering one's life. The surrender is a representation of devotion. The act of giving oneself is a core tenet. This symbolizes the transformation through sacrifice. The image embodies the essence of complete surrender. Human efforts alone are insufficient to atone for sin. A finite amount of good deeds cannot outweigh the infinite weight of sin. The accumulation of good deeds is portrayed as a fragile and temporary solution. The futility of relying solely on personal merit is visually emphasized. The inadequacy of human actions is highlighted through the imagery of fading and decaying efforts. Jesus' blood sacrifice serves as a central symbol of atonement. The sacrifice emphasizes the concept of substitutionary atonement. Only Jesus' sacrifice is considered sufficient for complete atonement. The concept of blood sacrifice highlights the gravity and cost of sin. Atonement through blood signifies the cleansing and forgiveness of sins. The blood sacrifice represents a complete and final resolution for sin. Attending church services does not automatically equate to a genuine relationship with Jesus. Participating in ministry activities is distinct from truly knowing Jesus. Knowing about Jesus intellectually differs from experiencing a personal relationship with him. True knowledge of Jesus involves both understanding and a personal connection. A genuine relationship with Jesus requires more than just religious activity. The clasping of two hands symbolizes a personal bond. This bond represents a relationship. The personal bond is a relationship with Jesus. The hands represent connection and trust. The bond signifies faith and devotion. This visual representation emphasizes the spiritual connection. Jesus' open arms symbolize an invitation to those who surrender their hearts. Surrendering one's heart represents a complete yielding of control and trust. Declaring trust in Jesus signifies a commitment to faith and belief. The act of surrender and trust leads to a state of acceptance and belonging. The phrase "good and faithful servant" represents recognition for devoted service. This phrase symbolizes the ultimate reward for those who have a deep understanding of Jesus. The concept embodies the virtues of dedication, loyalty, and unwavering commitment. It serves as a testament to a life lived in accordance with spiritual principles and values. Divine joy is visually represented as an all-encompassing, radiant light. The embrace symbolizes the ultimate reward of salvation. This visual suggests a state of complete fulfillment and spiritual harmony. The scene evokes a sense of being enveloped by unconditional love and acceptance. Salvation is presented as a free gift, symbolizing unearned favor. Grace, in this context, represents the unconditional love and benevolence offered. Faith is the means by which this gift of grace is received. The gift's wrapping is intricately designed, reflecting the preciousness of salvation. The radiant glow from within the gift signifies the transformative power of grace. This gift of grace is freely given, requiring no payment or merit. The slightly ajar door symbolizes an open invitation. This invitation is available throughout one's life. The invitation represents the opportunity to receive Jesus. Acceptance of the invitation leads to spiritual enlightenment. This acceptance offers eternal life and salvation. The open door signifies hope and new beginnings. The act of reaching out a hand symbolizes the offer of mercy. Forgiveness is extended for all mistakes, regardless of their nature. Mercy provides a path to redemption and renewal. The offer of mercy is universally available. Acceptance of mercy leads to inner peace and reconciliation. The question of stewardship is represented by the phrase, "What did you do with what I gave you?" Stewardship implies a responsibility to manage resources effectively. The inquiry probes the actions taken with entrusted resources. Effective stewardship yields positive outcomes and growth. Neglectful stewardship leads to depletion and decay. The question emphasizes accountability for resource utilization. Time is a valuable resource entrusted to individuals. Talents represent inherent abilities and skills that can be developed and utilized. Money, as a resource, can be used for both personal needs and contributing to the well-being of others. Influence is the capacity to positively impact and guide others. The parable of the talents illustrates the principle of multiplying one's given abilities or resources. Each servant receives a different number of talents, symbolizing varying initial capacities or opportunities. The faithful servants invest their talents, demonstrating proactive effort and resourcefulness. Multiplying talents leads to increased returns, representing the benefits of diligent stewardship. The parable emphasizes the importance of using and developing one's gifts to achieve greater potential. The act of planting seeds represents the initial investment of one's talents and resources. Nurturing and cultivating these seeds symbolizes the dedication and effort required for growth. The eventual harvest of fruit represents the tangible rewards and outcomes of faithful investment. Faithful stewardship of one's gifts leads to fruitful returns and multiplied blessings. A talent, representing potential, lies buried in the earth. The act of burying a talent symbolizes the failure to utilize one's gifts. Unused talents remain dormant and unable to contribute to a greater purpose. The kingdom benefits from the active use and cultivation of individual talents. Neglecting one's talents hinders growth and diminishes potential contributions. The value of an action is deeply rooted in the intention behind it. Jesus emphasizes the importance of inner motives over outward displays. True value lies not in the action itself, but in the heart's disposition. Sincerity and purity of heart are more significant than outward achievements. The focus should be on cultivating a heart filled with love and compassion. Small acts of service, when performed with dedication, hold significant value. Even the smallest efforts contribute to a larger, more meaningful outcome. Dedication amplifies the impact of even seemingly insignificant actions. Consistent small efforts, over time, yield substantial results. The value of an effort is determined not by its size, but by the intention and dedication behind it. Every act of service, regardless of scale, contributes to a positive collective impact. Symbols of wealth, such as gold coins and luxury items, visually dominate the scene. A cross, representing God's mission, is present but overshadowed and diminished in size. The visual imbalance signifies the prioritization of personal gain over spiritual values. The scene conveys the concept of material possessions eclipsing faith and purpose. True impact is derived from a willing heart. A heart willingly offering itself symbolizes dedication. The act of willingly offering one's heart represents profound commitment. Willingness is the foundation of meaningful contribution. A willing heart is essential for creating lasting, positive change. The central theme revolves around the inquiry, "How did you treat my little ones?" This question represents the concept of love and compassion towards the vulnerable. The inquiry emphasizes the importance of kindness and care in interpersonal relationships. The question serves as a moral compass, guiding actions and decisions. Jesus' face is visually superimposed onto the faces of vulnerable individuals. This visual representation symbolizes Jesus' identification with the marginalized and suffering. The superimposition emphasizes a shared humanity and compassion. The visual blending signifies empathy and solidarity with the vulnerable. This artistic depiction highlights Jesus' connection to those in need. Orphans and widows represent vulnerable and marginalized populations. These symbols evoke feelings of loss, abandonment, and societal neglect. Societies often have specific support systems designed to aid orphans and widows. The well-being of orphans and widows is a key indicator of social justice and equity. Immigrants and prisoners are often overlooked populations. Visual symbols can represent the marginalized status of immigrants. Visual symbols can represent the marginalized status of prisoners. Overlapping symbols can highlight shared experiences of being overlooked. The convergence of these symbols emphasizes a common theme of societal neglect. These visual representations aim to bring attention to the plight of these overlooked groups. Visual symbols represent the sick, conveying vulnerability through universally recognized icons. Visual symbols represent the rejected, conveying vulnerability through universally recognized icons. The combination of sickness and rejection symbols creates a comprehensive representation of vulnerability. These visual symbols serve to communicate the complex emotions associated with being sick and rejected. Turning away from the vulnerable represents a rejection of compassion and empathy. Ignoring the vulnerable symbolizes a denial of shared humanity and interconnectedness. Vulnerability, when ignored, leads to increased isolation and suffering. Choosing to ignore vulnerability can be interpreted as a rejection of fundamental moral principles. The act of ignoring vulnerability can be seen as a form of self-imposed blindness to the needs of others. Ignoring vulnerability ultimately diminishes the collective well-being of society. Embracing vulnerability is presented as an act of love. Vulnerability symbolizes openness and acceptance. Love, in this context, is depicted as a selfless act. The concept of loving Jesus is linked to caring for the vulnerable. Vulnerability and love are interconnected themes. The depths of the heart represent the core of human emotions and inner self. Genuine compassion is a critical element in fostering positive relationships and emotional well-being. Exploring the heart's depths involves understanding and accepting a wide range of emotions. Cultivating compassion leads to a deeper understanding of oneself and others. Love is demonstrated even when it presents difficulties or challenges. Inconvenient love involves active and costly expressions of care and support. Choosing to love, despite inconvenience, reflects a deeper commitment. The essence of love is revealed through actions, not just words, especially when those actions require sacrifice. Love's true measure lies in its willingness to endure hardship and discomfort for the well-being of others. Inconvenient love is a powerful testament to the depth and strength of genuine affection. Acts of service, when performed without seeking recognition, exemplify genuine compassion. True compassion involves selfless actions, motivated by empathy rather than the desire for praise. Secret acts of service foster a sense of intrinsic reward and fulfillment. Genuine compassion is characterized by humility and a focus on the needs of others. Serving in secret cultivates a deeper connection with humanity. The essence of service lies in the intention, not the visibility, of the action. Love is represented as a costly endeavor, reflecting sacrifice and commitment. Active love involves effort and intentional actions, not merely passive feelings. Jesus' love embodies both costly sacrifice and active engagement. Costly love requires giving up personal comforts and resources for the benefit of others. Active love manifests through acts of service, compassion, and unwavering support. The concept visually distinguishes between individuals characterized by love and those marked by indifference. Love is represented as an active, outward-reaching force connecting individuals. Indifference is portrayed as a state of isolation and disconnection. Visual cues emphasize the contrast in emotional states and social connections. The division highlights the impact of love and indifference on human relationships. Symbols of worldly status, such as money and luxury items, are temporary and do not determine ultimate value. Earthly success and material possessions are not indicators of true worth or moral standing. External achievements and accolades hold no weight in the final assessment. The pursuit of worldly status is ultimately futile, as these symbols are transient and insignificant. Judgment transcends superficial measures of success and focuses on intrinsic qualities. True value lies beyond the tangible and measurable aspects of worldly status. Love, as the singular criterion for evaluation, transcends conventional metrics. Judgment based solely on love prioritizes intrinsic value over extrinsic achievements. This paradigm shift redefines success through the lens of compassion and empathy. The measure of love emphasizes the quality of relationships and emotional connections. Decisions rooted in love foster growth and understanding, surpassing superficial assessments. Love-centric judgment promotes inherent worth, disregarding external pressures and societal norms. Demonstrating love for others reflects one's love for Jesus. Loving others involves accepting their imperfections and brokenness. Compassion and empathy are essential components of loving others. Unconditional love extends to those who are marginalized or suffering. Acts of service and kindness exemplify love in action. Indifference to the suffering of others represents a detachment from compassion. Such indifference creates a separation from the teachings and example of Jesus. Empathy and compassion are fundamental aspects of spiritual connection. Choosing indifference diminishes the capacity for love and understanding. Self-reflection involves a deep examination of one's own thoughts, feelings, and actions. It requires honestly assessing motivations and the consequences of one's behavior. The process of introspection can lead to greater self-awareness and personal growth. Understanding personal values and beliefs is crucial for effective self-reflection. Identifying patterns in behavior helps to understand underlying motivations and triggers. Through self-reflection, individuals can align their actions with their core values, leading to a more fulfilling life. Confidence in answering questions reflects a life aligned with divine will. Living in accordance with a higher purpose fosters inner certainty and resolve. Answering with confidence stems from a deep understanding and acceptance of one's spiritual path. Divine guidance provides clarity and assurance in navigating life's challenges. True confidence is rooted in faith and a commitment to living a virtuous life. An open heart symbolizes receptivity to spiritual transformation. Receiving Jesus represents a life changed by divine love. Love transforms the heart, leading to spiritual renewal. The heart is the center of spiritual connection and growth. A transformed heart reflects inner peace and spiritual fulfillment. Surrendering one's life to Jesus signifies complete devotion. This act embodies a total commitment of one's will and purpose. It represents a profound spiritual transformation and renewal. This devotion involves relinquishing control and trusting in divine guidance. Such surrender is seen as the pathway to spiritual fulfillment and eternal life. Faithful stewardship involves the responsible use of one's talents and resources. God-given talents should be nurtured and developed to their fullest potential. Stewardship implies a responsibility to manage and multiply these gifts for a greater purpose. Effective stewardship leads to growth, abundance, and positive impact. Deeply loving involves compassionate service to others. Compassionate service is characterized by empathy and care. Acts of service demonstrate love through practical help. Love manifests in selfless actions towards those in need. Serving his little ones reflects a profound expression of love. The open door of mercy symbolizes continuous access to forgiveness. Mercy's availability is represented by the door remaining perpetually open. The concept of grace is visually conveyed through the open doorway. Unconditional forgiveness is symbolized by the welcoming nature of the open door. Grace, in a theological context, refers to divine favor and unconditional love. Guilt represents the emotional state resulting from the perception of having violated a moral or ethical standard. Grace surpasses guilt by offering forgiveness and redemption, despite wrongdoing. The concept of grace emphasizes unconditional acceptance, irrespective of one's actions or past. Forgiveness, a key aspect of grace, releases individuals from the burden of guilt and its consequences. The principle of grace provides a pathway to emotional and spiritual healing. A new beginning represents the opportunity to start anew. New beginnings symbolize hope and the potential for positive change. The concept of a new beginning is often associated with fresh starts and clean slates. New beginnings can be a catalyst for personal growth and transformation. Embracing a new beginning requires courage and a willingness to step into the unknown. A new beginning offers the chance to learn from past experiences and create a better future. Every action initiates a series of consequences that extend far beyond the immediate moment. These consequences, both positive and negative, shape the future in ways that are often unforeseen. The interconnectedness of actions and their repercussions creates a continuous loop of cause and effect. Understanding this principle encourages mindful decision-making and a greater sense of responsibility. Personal accountability refers to the acceptance of responsibility for one's own actions and decisions. Accountability involves acknowledging the consequences of choices, both positive and negative. Taking ownership fosters self-improvement and builds trust with others. Lack of accountability can lead to stagnation and eroded relationships. Accountability requires honesty, integrity, and a commitment to ethical behavior. Cultivating personal accountability empowers individuals to shape their own destinies. Every decision creates ripples extending into the future, shaping subsequent events and outcomes. Small choices can have significant, far-reaching, and unforeseen consequences. The cumulative effect of decisions determines the overall trajectory and legacy of an individual's life. The consequences of actions, both positive and negative, persist beyond one's lifetime. Fairness in the final judgment implies an unbiased and equitable assessment. Impartiality ensures that judgment is free from prejudice or favoritism. Divine justice represents the ultimate standard of righteousness and moral perfection. The concept underscores the importance of accountability for one's actions. Spiritual awakening involves recognizing the significance of one's connection with a higher power. This awakening process emphasizes the importance of interpersonal relationships and community. Realizing the importance of relationships fosters personal growth and spiritual development. Spiritual awakening leads to a deeper understanding of purpose and meaning in life. This process encourages empathy, compassion, and selfless service to others. Inner transformation involves aligning one's thoughts and emotions with divine principles. This alignment requires a conscious effort to change one's heart and mind. The process of inner transformation leads to spiritual growth and a deeper connection with the divine. The ultimate goal is to harmonize personal will with God's will. Compassionate action involves showing kindness and empathy towards individuals in need. Empathy allows individuals to understand and share the feelings of others, fostering a deeper connection. Acts of kindness reflect a demonstration of care and concern for the well-being of others. Compassionate action, motivated by empathy and kindness, is seen as a reflection of divine love. Selfless service prioritizes the needs of others above one's own. Genuine care and concern are fundamental aspects of selfless service. Selfless service involves actions that benefit others without expecting personal gain. Empathy drives selfless service by understanding and sharing the feelings of others. Selfless service strengthens communities through mutual support and cooperation. The impact of selfless service extends beyond immediate help, fostering long-term positive change. Unconditional love involves loving others, regardless of their flaws or shortcomings. This type of love mirrors a divine love, such as God's love for humanity. It is characterized by acceptance and compassion, even in the face of imperfections. Unconditional love does not require perfection. It embraces flaws as part of the whole. This love fosters growth and healing, creating a supportive environment for others. The essence of unconditional love lies in its selfless and unwavering nature. Forgiveness involves a conscious decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards someone who has wronged us. Reconciliation is the process of restoring broken relationships and rebuilding trust after conflict or harm. Extending forgiveness requires empathy and understanding of the other person's perspective. Seeking reconciliation involves open communication and a willingness to acknowledge one's own role in the conflict. Forgiveness and reconciliation can lead to personal healing and stronger, more resilient relationships. Redemption is the possibility of being freed from past errors and their consequences. Restoration involves returning to a state of wholeness and right relationship. Redemption and restoration together signify a complete transformation from brokenness to wholeness. This process allows for a renewed relationship with a higher power. Faith in Jesus Christ offers the promise of a brighter future. Renewal is achieved through belief and acceptance. The path to a fresh start is paved with faith. Hope emerges from overcoming adversity. A brighter future is attainable through spiritual conviction. Eternal life is defined as everlasting life with God. This eternal life is granted to those who have placed their trust in God. Trust in God is the key to unlocking the promise of eternal life. Eternal life represents a state of unending existence in the presence of God. The concept of a heavenly reward symbolizes ultimate fulfillment and divine recognition. Faithful service is often seen as a pathway to achieving this anticipated heavenly reward. Love, as a core virtue, is intrinsically linked to the promise of divine recognition and reward. Anticipation of a heavenly reward can inspire dedication and perseverance in one's actions. The heavenly reward represents an eternal state of peace, joy, and divine connection. Entering God's presence signifies a state of spiritual welcome and belonging. Divine acceptance is characterized by unconditional love and grace. Experiencing God's presence involves a sense of peace and spiritual fulfillment. Unconditional love from God implies complete acceptance without judgment or reservation. Spiritual growth is an ongoing process of maturing in one's faith. This process involves a continuous journey toward embodying the teachings and example of Jesus. Maturing in faith requires consistent effort and dedication. The ultimate goal of spiritual growth is to become more like Jesus in thought, word, and deed. Inner peace is achieved through cultivating a relationship with God. This relationship fosters a sense of calm and contentment. Experiencing inner peace involves finding solace and comfort in faith. A connection with the divine provides a foundation for emotional stability. This sense of peace transcends external circumstances and worldly concerns. Happiness is found through serving God with devotion and sincerity. Serving others with kindness and compassion is a pathway to fulfillment. Joyful living involves aligning one's actions with divine principles. True happiness stems from a selfless dedication to the well-being of others. Serving God and others cultivates inner peace and contentment. Fulfillment is achieved through a life of purpose, guided by faith and love. Faith can provide a framework for understanding life's purpose and meaning. Discovering purpose through faith involves aligning personal values with a larger spiritual narrative. A sense of purpose derived from faith often leads to increased resilience and hope. Faith-based purpose can foster a sense of connection to something greater than oneself. Leaving a positive impact involves spreading love and compassion. Love and compassion foster stronger communities and relationships. Positive actions create a ripple effect, inspiring others to act with kindness. A legacy of love is built through consistent acts of kindness and empathy. Advancing God's kingdom involves acts of service. Love is a fundamental component of kingdom impact. Service and love contribute to positive transformation on earth. Kingdom impact is a continuous process of giving and receiving. The collective effort of individuals amplifies kingdom impact. Kingdom impact reflects divine values in earthly actions. Transformation begins with the influence of divine love. Grace acts as the catalyst for fundamental change. A life radically altered reflects inner renewal and purpose. The power of transformation leads to a life filled with hope and meaning. Eternal life represents a state of existence that transcends the limitations of physical mortality. Hope, in this context, is the confident expectation of a future existence with a divine presence. This hope remains steadfast, irrespective of current life circumstances or challenges. The concept emphasizes unwavering faith in a promised future beyond present realities.